Just need to film something, just need to record something, just need to get started, just need to get the ball rolling. Let's talk about Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is one of the preeminent people that people on the left tend to dunk on because of his perennially outrageously bad takes. I don't need to explain to you who Ben Shapiro is or what he does. If you're watching this, and you're probably so deep in the weeds that you already know who Ben Shapiro is. So instead of that, I'm going to get right to the point. I was watching a video by another person talking about a debate that Shapiro had with Miles deGrasse Tyson? Hold on.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is evidently how you pronounce his name. And during this debate, Shapiro made two arguments I found especially galling. The first argument was that society has no obligation to account for and to advocate for people who may be disabled, although the word that Shapiro used was defective. And the second was that trans people have genes that are different than cis people. So, regarding trans people and disability, it is needlessly reductive to describe transgenderism as a disability, in the same way that it would be needlessly reductive to describe autism, a thing that I have to deal with, as a disability. It is much more multifaceted and much more complex than that. I also feel the need to just state out loud that describing transgender people as being defective is needlessly hostile and aggressive. Which, what's the point? Ben Shapiro is a ghoul who doesn't care about other people's well-being. You can't argue morals with me, he doesn't care about morals. So I suppose to him that argument that there is no societal obligation to take care of people who can't take care of themselves, or to take care of specific illnesses and maladies that other people have, makes sense, because he doesn't feel that obligation. But notably, he's wrong. And he's wrong in a very specific sense. A legal sense. So back in the 90s, there's this thing that happened that somehow has eluded the public consciousness. There was a thing called the Disability Rights Act that was passed, in the vein of the Civil Rights Act. This act provided protections, legal protections, to disabled people, in the same way that they are provided to people of color or people of different nationalities. They're a protected class. Disabled people are a legally distinct and protected class. This act also mandated that disabled people have specific aids provided to them if it was required to do so for them to do regular-ass things, like get a birth certificate or, I don't know, a state ID. That is why most state institutions have things like wheelchair ramps, so that disabled people, paraplegic people in this case, or just people who use wheelchairs, you don't need to be paraplegic to use a wheelchair, can use those institutions at all. You can't go up a flight of stairs in a wheelchair, right? So when it comes to disabilities, or defects as Shapiro spits out, he is literally wrong. Society does have a legal responsibility. They decided back in 1990 that there is a legal responsibility to allow people who have disabilities to exist in society without too much trouble, and to enable people to exist in society without that trouble. That includes going to the bathroom, by the way. That's why there are closed stalls that are great big things, so that disabled people, especially paraplegic, especially people who use wheelchairs, can use the bathroom without too much trouble. The second thing that Shapiro said that really galled me was that trans people and cis people have different genes. And, I don't know if anyone's ever brought this up, but that's totally meaningless without some further context. It's not an answer, it's just kicking the can down the road. Okay, people have different genes, but what do those genes do, and why does what those genes do matter? And I imagine if you presented that argument to Ben Shapiro, he would get really weaselly about it. He would say, oh, you know what those genes do, but, let's pretend I don't, so that you can say out loud what the differences are and why they matter. Because the only real thing that he can say, the only real difference that he can point to between a trans woman and a cis woman that is expressed in their genes is that a cis woman can give birth to children. So what he is saying is that he wants to legislate childbirth. And I don't know, that just seems kind of fucked to me. That just seems really fucked. That seems fucked for everyone. Cis women, trans women, women who do want to have children, women who don't want to have children. Legislating childbirth benefits no one. But in lieu of any other meaningful argument, that's the argument that he's more or less forced to make. Also, can we talk about how fucked up it is that anti-trans activists and Ben Shapiro are to the point where they're discussing legislating genes? Like, that has all the additional problems that come along with legislating childbirth, e.g., who does it benefit? Who does it help? No one. But it also comes along with the caveat that it hurts literally every single person. All of us. Both of those specific arguments, when you look at them for even a moment, fall apart like sand. And yet he still made them. But there's something else that I think needs to be explained. Those arguments fall apart in a specific context. Legislation. And I think it needs to be emphasized that if we are discussing trans people and their rights, we are necessarily discussing that in a legal context. Ben Shapiro might deny that's the case. He might deny any intention to want to legislate trans people or their behaviors, but if he does that, he is lying. If you are discussing trans rights, you are necessarily discussing it in the context of legislation, because there are countries all over the world, and right here in the United States, where people are trying to strip trans people of their right to play sports, to go to the bathroom, and to receive health care. Those are things that are happening right now, and that is the context in which these discussions are being had. And if someone denies that that's the context in which these discussions are being had, kick them out of the room. They don't deserve to be there. I don't know. I just decided at a young age that I was going to be an ally to anyone who was being oppressed, and I'm trying to do that as best as I can. I haven't been in a very good headspace these last few months, but I'm trying to fight my way through it, just like everyone else, I guess. I'm not going to go into where all my links are, you know about all that. So, yeah. Until we get there, go out, do something important, and take care of yourselves, alright?